Tal Bachman and She's So High here on 1FM 91.3 Good Times Greatest Hits. Funny this song should come on because sometimes when you're in a state of flow, that's kind of how you feel, right? You feel a little bit high. And this morning we're chatting about the state of flow with our happiness scientist Yeo Sha-En. Welcome back, Sha-En.
Yay, glad to be back.
You've been on holiday, haven't you?
Yes.
You want to see a post-holiday glow? You got to join us on Facebook, facebook.com/1FM 91.3. What were you up to? You were in Korea?
I was in Korea, yes. Lots of eating, shopping, nature. I was in Jeju, so we went, by the coast formations. We saw waterfalls, hiking. Yeah,
were you at the beach as well?
Yeah, but it's a volcanic beach,
Oh
so
my!
it's
I know. I was
beautiful,
like, wow, this looks a little bit different.
Yes, correct.
A volcanic beach.
Yes, apparently 1.2 million years ago, the island of Jeju was formed because of a volcanic eruption.
Oh wow!
So you will see that most of the coast that we went to, the sand is black.
Wow.
Yes,
very
so it's
interesting.
actually quite cool.
And right now, there's a heat wave going on in Korea. Did you get affected by that?
No, actually, we were quite lucky. We came back just in time. Yes,
okay.
correct. So maximum 25. So I guess heat wave is here lah, Singapore.
yeah, exactly.
So because you're on a volcanic beach, was the sand a little bit hotter? No.
Apparently, it's warmer. Yeah, and you can go and put your feet inside and things like that if you wanted
therapeutic,
to.
right? Because of the volcanic mud or whatever. Oh, very interesting. Well, we're glad to have you back this morning.
Yay.
And of course, you want to find out more about Sha-En. Well, she's a #1 best-selling author, a 2-time TEDx speaker, and founder of Happiness Scientist, where we deal with positive psychology. You can look her up, see her volcanic beach photos at Sha-En Yeo. That's spelled SHAENYEO. And this morning on Facebook as well, send us a question on our topic of flow, and you stand to win a lovely prize from
Platypus Cantina, $100 dining voucher. They do Mexican-inspired cuisine and lovely cocktails as well. Good atmosphere.
I know, like another holiday, another party. All right, so Sha-En, tell us, what is a state of flow and why is it important?
Well, a state of flow, I think some of you may have experienced it before, is when you kind of go into something and you feel like, time is lost, you're so immersed in it. And in fact, the psychologists describe it as a state of optimal experience. Optimal. It's like you feel your life is put together and complete in that moment. Have you all had those experiences before?
I think I have. Like sometimes, at work, you're suddenly like so in the zone.
Yeah,
In the zone.
exactly.
I was just about to use
That's
that.
right.
Yeah, and I think that's what they refer to it in sports as well.
That's right.
You're in the zone.
Yes.
You're not really thinking about things.
Yes,
things are just happening because you're, combination of what experience.
Yeah, there's like muscle memory, and,
Yeah.
and if you look at think about what flow actually is the balance between your challenge level and your ability or your skill level. So when there's high challenge and you have the requisite ability and skills to meet up to that, that's when you get into a state of flow, because it's like everything is working in sync so well. That's why you feel in the zone, and it's challenging enough to keep you going.
So why is this so important for us, the state of flow?
Yeah, because if we think about one of the elements of what leads to a flourishing life, part of it is engagement. Do we feel engaged in the things that we're doing? And the optimal state of engagement is actually flow. And so they found in the research that when we're in states of flow or engagement, it contributes significantly to the way we view our life. We feel more satisfied, we feel more positive, we feel that life is going well, and that, that's why it's so important for us. And, just imagine when you're not in flow, then you're like dragging your feet, you're like, oh, why are we doing this? What's the point? So it almost makes you feel like connected.
Yeah, I love that. What are some examples of a state of flow, like at work, during a hobby?
Yeah, when you're at work, like for example, for me, I get into a state of flow when I'm doing some research in preparation for speech, because I love reading,
Right.
And then I love getting that new information, and then when I can combine that information in a way that can deliver a speech that impacts people, that's where I feel that feeling of flow, right? So that's for me. And for sports people, of course, sometimes, when you see them on the court and you ask them, so how do you actually make that shot? And they're like, well, they can't really describe it to you because they're just so in that, it's like everything's just moving in sync the way that they have always been doing it, and their muscles have memory that they're not really conscious of.
This is fascinating because I work a lot in sports and I interview sportsmen and I do a lot of commentary, and you're absolutely spot on.
Yeah.
They can't answer this question. It is almost second nature to these sportsmen as to what they just did or how they just performed. It is so normal for them that it's really hard for them to describe or impart to anyone else what their process is to go through that movement or that goal or something that they've done. It's now I understand why. Okay.
Yeah, but most of them would describe that coming out of an experience of flow you feel different, you feel transformed.
Wow, I
Yeah.
love it. It's kind of almost like quite magical. It takes you to a whole nother level, like
Yeah.
achievement unlock, progress
yeah,
to the
yeah.
next level kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, we are on Facebook Live as well, so do join us there, facebook.com/1FM91.3. Send us a comment or a question on the state of flow for your chance to win a $100 dining voucher. Or you can also WhatsApp us, if you're out and about, 88550913. Send us any questions you may have for Sha-En. We will be back with more on how you can achieve a state of flow. Is it for everyone? Only special people. That is next. It's a little crazy in here. It is usually quite crazy. Hello everyone, good morning.
Hey.
Don't you think the gorgeous Sha-En looks even more gorgeous? She's already very gorgeous, but can be more gorgeousness. All right, so Sha-En, first time you're meeting Shehzad, yeah?
Yes. Lovely.
I'm fascinated by the state of flow thing, by the way. Sounds cool.
Yeah, you were like,
Yes,
what
it's
is
a very
it?
interesting topic.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think we take it for granted, this state of flow and what it can do for us, or when we're either that or it's happened to us so many times, but we're not aware of it.
Yes,
There's
and we're
no
not
name.
aware of how it has impacted us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to say good morning to Chuen Liang or Daniel and Ah Loon as well, who are joining us on Facebook Live this morning. So you've achieved a state of flow several times yourself, I'm sure. Many times.
Yes,
Is this something that
definitely.
happens on a daily basis? Or?
I would say for me, yes, because I'm quite conscious of it. You see, years ago, I learned about what contributes to a well-lived life.
Right.
And part of it is flow. And then, of course, you've got things like positive emotion, meaning, and all of that. And so I guess I'm more conscious about telling myself, if I've experienced flow in doing this activity before, then can I be more intentional about incorporating it into the schedule of my life? So, for example, recently I've rediscovered cooking. And so I get into a state of flow now with cooking. I play my music in the background. I'm a K-pop fan. Secret, not so secret anymore. And then I played.
That's why you went to Korea.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, part of it. And then I played in the background and I just take out all my ingredients and then just chopping away. And then 2 hours later, the food's ready. And then I feel...
So in that sense, there are certain things that we can do to kind of induce this
Yes.
state of flow. So for you, it's like putting on your music. What else can we do?
Yeah, so for example, because we know that the distinction is challenge versus ability. So if we feel that we're getting bored, then we say maybe the challenge is not big enough. How can we raise the challenge?
Okay.
So if you think of a sports person, like I used to play badminton competitively.
You just came
Right?
back from the
I just came
badminton.
back from-
I see your
Indonesia
jersey.
Open. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome games, by the way. Yeah, and so, we used to play against my teammates, and we know they play so well.
Right.
To the point where, it's just the same game over and over
Okay.
again. So we'll say, how can we up the ante? So maybe we'll focus on, let's just attack the backhand
Right.
continuously. So
Yes.
there's a focal point, and that's a challenge for you because you have to notice where they are standing in order
always-
to continuously only aim at one
Wow.
spot that they are. And if they're left-handed, then you got to work even harder, right?
Yeah,
Because
to
you're
the
not
other
used
hand.
to it.
Exactly, the other
Yeah,
side.
so then that raises a challenge. You're still playing the same game, but you have now raised a challenge. And because of that challenge, and because you have skills, you can get into that flow of state.
I like that within that, same environment and situation, you can create a challenge for yourself. Because I was
Yes.
thinking the minute you said, how to change it, I was thinking, go and play with other schools or other players.
You could do that as well, but
But
more immediate.
within that particular challenge.
to actually
Yes.
challenge your own skill set and your own skill level as well.
Yes.
By working on their weaknesses or something like that. It's quite easily done.
Yes, in a way it is. Yeah. So for example, now I give a lot of talks. I could do the same talk over and over again, which of course is comfort zone, right?
Yes,
Or
yes.
I could, when someone says, "Hey, Shan, you usually like to take on this topic," and I think about it, can I do this topic?
Yeah.
Does it have tangents to what I already know? Is it slightly more challenging because I'll have to, go and reconstruct my ideas? Then I'll say yes because I know that that's going to bring me to that next level of flow, right?
Yeah.
So when you've set a new challenge for yourself, right, and it's probably a little bit more needed from your ability, as you
Yes,
say, and then you
yes.
achieve that challenge, that is the high you get from it. Now, the worry is, what if you set that challenge and you can't achieve that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we must also be understanding of our own abilities.
Right.
We need to be aware. So for example, if I'm going to go play against Loki and you forget it, I'm going to go into a panic mode, or I won't even show up, right? Because you can, so I think we need to be aware of our abilities and know how
Okay.
to pitch that challenge as
So
well.
realistic with ourselves as
Yes,
well?
to a certain extent. Yeah,
Okay.
and we say that.
Sorry, Joe. We're going to jump back on air. Continue
Yeah,
this
let's
amazing,
continue.
fascinating conversation. Hang on, huh?
With Carol, Lavinia, and Shehzad
These people are crazy.
on 1FM 91.3.
Good morning to you and welcome to the Brightside. Joined in the studio this morning by happiness scientist Yeo Sha-En. Welcome back.
Thank you.
We're having such an interesting, engaging conversation on the topic of the state of flow, which you described as...
A state of optimal experience where the challenge that you're facing is matched by your level of ability.
Okay, so can everyone achieve this state of flow? We see it at work. You know, sports people often talk about it, you know, during basketball or badminton even. Can everyone achieve a state of flow?
Yes, absolutely. Even children can.
Even children? Yeah, I never thought about that.
But I guess it's whether it's. I guess the distinction is whether it's conscious or not conscious, right? Like we get into it and then we feel it. Do we even know how to label it? I think when I first learned about flow, I said, "Oh, now I have a term to put to the experience that I've had." Right? Yeah, you know.
How do you know when you're in a state of flow?
It's like you become okay. There are two ways people describe it. It's either that time moves very fast, or time is in slow mo, or sometimes you are so immersed in it that you don't feel any other sensation, or you're not very conscious of what's really happening around you. Like you may not feel hungry, even though like it's past your lunchtime. Some people have done that, work through lunch in a positive way, of course, right? Or things like that. So it's like because you're so immersed, all your attentional focus is on that one thing, and so everything else kind of fades away. You know, like the camera pans out.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of feeling.
Why does it feel so good?
It's because of the match between challenge and skill. You feel like you have risen up to this challenge and it's something you enjoy doing, right? And human beings like challenge. We often mistake challenge as something that's stressful. But a good kind of challenge actually promotes growth. And growth is important for our well-being.
And I wonder if there's also that physical element because you're releasing endorphins, right, as well. You're getting a high off.
Yeah, they call it runner's high.
Right.
Runners who reach a certain point, then it's so painful, and then they push past
through,
that point.
right? Yeah.
And they're like, oh.
The sense of achievement, satisfaction.
Yeah.
Actually, off air on Facebook, we were talking about how you can kind of bring about this state of flow. You were talking about how when you're cooking, you put on your Korean music, and then just that brings you into a zone. I mean, what are some other things we can do apart from listening to music?
Yeah, we can change the variety of things that we do. So if we're getting bored, on one end of flow is boredom because there's not enough challenge. So you can raise the challenge by introducing variety, or pitching the challenge at a level that you're not so familiar with, and that pushes you out from comfort into growth, right? And of course, on the other end of the spectrum is if you're anxious, means there's too much challenge, then maybe you can start breaking it down. How can I break this big challenge into smaller parts? So for example, at work, you're given a huge project and you're like, oh my God, I don't think I can do this, right? And I think we have all felt that way before. Then perhaps it's not looking at it as one big rock, but saying, how can I break this down into little rocks and do one thing at a time? And that's where the challenge can meet your skill can meet the first level of challenge and second and so on.
You know, earlier this morning we have a little segment called Free Your Mind, and Carol actually came up with. I thought this was very good. It said, "Don't let the fear of what could happen make nothing happen." So the fear of the unknown, and actually, if you kind of venture into the unknown, it's kind of what you're saying here.
Yeah.
Have a go at it and try something a little bit different. We all, let's admit it, we all lead pretty routine lives every day, right?
Yeah.
So push through that sometimes and try to change things up.
Yeah, like if you some people love cycling to work.
Yeah.
But why do they keep taking different routes? It's to find that zone, right? Yeah, and so it's like that variety spices up your life. It promotes more likelihood of getting into the zone of flow. Maybe as you're cycling a new route, you discover, oh, there's this beautiful place that I can, wander into.
Yeah.
You know, it's all part of that whole experience.
So from fear to flow.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Our conversation continues online. Do join us there, facebook.com/1FM91.3. And of course, in the meantime, if you've got any questions for Sha-En on the topic of flow, do WhatsApp us 88550913. Want to say good morning to Shireen, who's listening to us from Guantan, heading to JB today.
Nice.
Hopefully the traffic will continue to flow for you as well, Shireen. Back with more in a bit. Ooh.
In Indonesia this past few days, the crowd is like a football match, right? You've never seen anything else like it around the world.
I was watching some of the clips online. It's
Right.
like, woo, woo,
It's
woo.
So when someone's hitting it, when they're an Indonesian players hitting it, they're getting right behind them, and then when it's the opposition, they're kind of not booing them, but anyway,
It goes into a lull, like dies down.
they really want to get behind their player, but it's an incredible feeling. It's in commentary, especially. I do get it a lot, I have to say. Now that you're sort of explaining the way it is, when you're in the zone, I think when you said in the zone, then it kind of clicked for me.
We were talking about Loh Kian Yew as well, and what that was like for him, because he seemed to be doing very well at one of his matches, right? And then he said it's actually because the idea is that you do better on home ground because you got all your team supporting you, and maybe it was hard for him with the Indonesian supporting the opposition, but he said no, it was actually better.
Yeah, it was interesting because the week before he was playing in Singapore.
Right.
And then he got eliminated quite early on.
Right.
And he actually said he felt more pressure there. And then when he came to Indonesia, he felt he was playing a little more freely. Unfortunately, he got knocked out in the next match. But the first
pressure.
Yeah, the pressure.
The pressure creates perceived challenge. And if you think about the two dimensions of flow, challenge versus ability, when perceived challenge goes up, where do you get into? A zone of panic and anxiety.
Oh dear.
Right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and that's where you probably won't perform as well as a sports person, right? Because there's that added element. But when you're more relaxed, then you say, hey, I can do this. Right?
Now I
and
remember.
if you can do this, then
Now I
you can
remember.
do this. Right?
What if you set that challenge and you don't hit the marks that you want? That's kind of where you're...
It's like, it's too much.
Right.
Yeah.
So then that sends you into a bit of panic.
Yeah.
Alun says, lost my flow for 10 seconds, lost the sound. How do you actually he had a really good question. He says that state of flow is an experience where you wish you had 48 hours in a day. Sometimes you just...
There's not enough hours in a day to do everything you want to do because you're really getting
you're
things
in
done.
the zone and then you're just like,
Yeah.
well, for some people it might be that way, right? Where
Yeah,
you're just
yeah.
wanting
But
to-
there are downsides to the state of flow.
What?
Well, if you get
No.
too much into the state of flow, and I'm sure you've heard of artists, painters, not just in the artistic field, but in many, like someone who works and gets too much into it, they can become neglectful of their surroundings.
Oh, right.
Right?
It's like,
If they're
I have children to
permanently-
feed.
right.
Meh.
Yeah.
And people around you, yeah.
And people around you, and they lose the connection, or like practical stuff they don't get done, and then the house in a mess or whatever it is. So there are downsides because it's so good, it's almost addictive. So if you're only going into that all the time and neglectful of other things, then obviously that's what they say is one of the dangers or downsides of flow.
Can we just quickly recap that back on air? We're jumping back
Definitely.
live on 91.3. In the meantime, thank you everyone who's sending us your comments via Facebook Live. I want to say a big hello to you if you just joined us. Thank you so much. Shaka Khan. Ain't nobody here on 1FM 91.3. And this morning on the Brightside, we are chatting with our happiness scientist, Yeo Sha-En, back in the studio to talk to us about the state of flow. What an engaging conversation. I can see Shehzad's antennas like ding, 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 ding. Oh, is that what we call it? That place where, where the crowd just fades away. We're in the zone. We're so focused and there's a challenge, but it seems effortless. Where challenge meets your ability level. Is that what
That's
you
right.
described it as?
Yep.
That state of flow, which can be experienced by pretty much everyone in different situations, like at work, during your hobbies, during sports, exercise, that kind of thing. We were just talking about how the state of flow is actually good. Yeah, but there can be a downside. Too much of a good thing.
Yes.
Why is that?
Yeah, because when someone gets too much into the state of flow and they're so immersed, it's like nothing else matters. Then the on the outside, whoever or whatever is in that nothing else matters zone, then gets neglected or not attended to.
Yeah.
Right. So, for example, if you're a parent and you are in the state of zone or flow and you're constantly there, and because it's so addictive, you don't want to, or you tend to put aside other things that you're actually supposed to do. For example, attend to your kids or whatever,
Your
housework.
dog.
Yeah, whatever,
this is sounding a little familiar, I have to say.
responsibilities, right? Because
Yeah.
responsibilities don't feel that great. Like you said, they're routine.
Right.
and boring. But this state of flow feels so good, right?
Yeah.
Natural high.
The
Especially
high,
when it's
yeah.
work. Work related, you're just like, you're just so productive at that point, and then it just keeps going. You want to continue and continue.
Yes,
But, at the same time, dinner is waiting, chores are waiting. So how long then should you be staying in a state of flow?
Yeah, I don't think there's like you must stay in it for 12 hours, that kind of thing. I think we need to know ourselves. Like when we have gotten into that state of flow, it's okay to take a break and connect with the people around you, connect with your environment, get doing on the things that you're doing, and then, bring it back into your life
So
again.
I guess it's kind of self-regulation in a way, and,
yes.
and being aware of yourself and the others around you.
Yeah.
But as you say, it's really addictive, isn't it? When once you get into that flow.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So I guess, it's about balancing it. Just like, how do you know when to push into the next state of flow? That's also awareness of yourself.
Push into the next state of flow. I like that.
Yeah, because people acclimatize, we adjust.
Yeah.
Right. So one challenge becomes normal after you have used it or gone through it many times, and then you want to get to the next level.
Okay,
right?
so what are some of the things that we should be looking for in order to, again, bring about that state of flow and then to take us to that next level when it becomes, normal for us?
Yeah, I guess it depends on where you are first. So if we think about the challenge versus ability thing, so if the challenge is not high enough, then I would say toggle on the challenge part.
Right.
Push the challenge a bit more. Either increase it or change the variety up. Do something different. Or like for some people, they go and pursue something new. Why? Because they're used to their old stuff. So
I
they wouldn't
know
try new
people like
things.
that.
Yeah?
Yeah, they do mountain biking and then they do like rock climbing.
Yeah,
because
and at
it
first
gets
it's
boring.
hard, right?
Yeah.
I mean, anything new at first is generally quite difficult, but then they get used to it. They acclimatize, and then they get into that flow. And then the other end of the other part is the ability. We can shift the ability. If the challenge is too great, you either adjust the challenge or the ability. You can go for new courses, pick up new skills. So if you're going for mountain climbing, you need to learn new skills. So go and learn those new skills so that you can climb that mountain, right? Whether literally or metaphorically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's how you can get there as well.
So just going back again to perhaps one of the risks here is if you're looking to kind of increase that high, is there a danger that you might want to you're risking things by pushing yourself too much?
Yeah, and definitely. I mean, there have been athletes or even non-athletes who have pushed themselves way too hard. And that's why we always say, you know your body, know yourself, know where your limits are, push them, and then, and of course, you have people in your life. And that's why if you get too immersed and you're not connected with the people in your lives, then they can play a protective function. For example, they see you like just pushing way too hard at work.
Yeah.
They know that you love your work. But then what if that work takes you overboard? And that's where the people in your life can play that support role and say, hey, let's just hang out.
Yeah.
Let's just go and do something other things. Chill.
Switch off for a bit.
Yeah,
right?
switch off. Yeah, because our brain can't be going, non-stop 24/7 either, right? We need to
So
do
what is
different
something
activities.
that's, loving and kind to say to someone who is in that state and you're like outside looking in, like maybe we need some fresh air. Like how would you?
Yeah, you can say like, hey, I acknowledge and I can see that when you're doing that, you really enjoy it and it brings you a great feeling. And I acknowledge that, and it's wonderful to see you in that state. However, there's also other things in your life which you can add value, and you can list out some other things that the person has enjoyed in the past but maybe forgotten. So it's not like, hey, you why you do this, you ignore me, it's so bad. I mean,
Yeah, because I can hear that conversation
Oh
already.
God, I'm getting PTSD right now.
but it's more of like, hey, I know you love your boy, but we used to do this together.
Yeah.
And this was fun. Hey,
Yeah.
why don't we watch this movie, remember? And then like just kind of rebalancing and bringing it back into their orbit again. Because
Yeah.
sometimes they have forgotten it.
Yeah, especially when it comes to connection. I think those are important.
What about involving others in your state of flow? Is that
Oh
some?
yeah, absolutely.
you know?
And there's group flow. When
Oh.
you go to a concert, have you ever experienced it?
That's a
Right?
good point.
It's group
Yeah.
flow. Everybody's like, group
Yeah.
engagement. It's like this new zing and
Right.
buzz, and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
3
yeah.
hours later, hey. You mean the concert 3
Yeah,
hours?
it's done.
I've been
Finished.
standing for 3 hours, and then only then you realize,
Yeah.
oh my God, I'm so tired, my feet.
Yeah.
But in that 3 hours, you feel nothing except exhilaration. Right?
Okay. No
So,
wonder
yeah,
when you
you
do
could-
like group sports, it feels so good. When your
Yes.
team wins, you're like, yes, we
Yeah.
did it together, and it feels amazing.
Good point.
Wow, Sha-En, some wonderful concepts that we've discussed this morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Always.
Yeah, and if you want to find out more, you can log on to our website. It's www.happinessscientists.com. She's also on Instagram, Happiness Scientist, and Sha-En Yeo is her personal one where you can go check out her pictures on her holiday in Korea. Sha-En, it's been great. We'll chat to you again next week. Thank you
Yay,
so
can't
much.
wait.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that conversation on the state of flow. Maybe you learned something new like Shehzad today.
I did. Listen, we were flowing so well. That was half hour just like that.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it
Very
felt
good.
like it, right?
Yeah.
I loved that. It was really enjoyable.
Happens every week, with Sha-En.
We had so much fun here
Yeah, we
all the
always don't
time.
want to let her go.
Oh, good.
All right. So thanks, everybody. We'll be getting in touch with someone who has scored that $100 voucher from Platypus Cantina, some Mexican food coming
Yeah.
your way.
Looking forward to that $100 voucher. Keep those responses coming through every time we get Sha-En in.
Yeah. Ay, caramba. Bye.